Spine-chilling true tales revealed, 7 disturbing stories that expose sinister, haunted secrets. The moment Sarah stepped into the creaky old house, a chill swallowed her whole. Shadows danced in the corners, secrets whispered from the walls. The house, worn and weathered, felt alive, as if it was aware of her presence, her dread intertwining with its memories. This would be a fresh start for her and her 2 kids, Mia and Jacob. She clung to hope like a lifebuoy in a stormy sea, but, as night fell, hope morphed into something darker. The soft scratching began slow at first, like long fingernails trailing against the wooden beams. It sent shivers down her spine. Was it the house settling? Or something worse? She brushed it off. She needed to believe. New beginnings, she murmured to herself, hugging Jacob tightly. Every friendly wave from the neighbors felt like a thin veil over the horror lurking beneath her new life. Days turned into weeks, and the scratching intensified. Mia, her once spirited daughter, wandered around with vacant eyes, clutching her teddy bear like a lifeline. "Mommy, can I see my friend?" she would ask, unblinking. Sarah's heart raced on the brink of panic. Who was this friend? But every time she opened her mouth to ask, the fear would choke her silent. Then one afternoon, while searching for a dish in the kitchen, Sarah stumbled upon strange symbols crudely carved into the wooden beams above her head. Her heart stalled. The symbols twisted like vines, each one bearing a familial tragedy. What had happened here? Her dreams became nightmares, shadows flickering at the edges, drowning her in an abyss of fear. Desperate for answers, she approached Mr. Ortiz, their reclusive neighbor. He had an air of mystery, his eyes sharing tales of the past she desperately wanted to know. "This house has its stories," he said one stormy night, tapping the kitchen table with a finger, his gaze piercing through her facade of confidence. "Not all of them are good. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As rain lashed the windows, Sarah felt the unsettling vibe shift. Trust turned into dread. One fateful night, she awoke to silence that felt wrong, too still, too heavy. Panic surged as she turned to Jacob, only to find her daughter Mia missing. "Mia!" she shouted, her voice trembling. Echoes mocked her, piercing the stillness. She stumbled through every room, her heart hammering louder than the storm outside. Outside, she called for Mia, heavy raindrops mixing with tears. Thunder roared, and there, unnaturally calm at the edge of the yard, stood Mr. Ortiz. He didn't move, just watched. "What do you know?" she cried, nearly choking on the fear that clawed at her throat. She felt cold dread twist in her gut. This was no neighbor watching over them. He was part of it. As the realization sunk in, shadows slid in closer, dancing around her parents' old house, whispering secrets she wasn't ready to face. "Tell me where my daughter is," she screamed into the tempest, the very walls seeming to echo her despair, but Mr. Ortiz's silence spoke louder than thunder. Sarah's instincts shot into overdrive. She had to confront him. She stood, clutching Jacob, heart racing as lightning illuminated the terror-filled night. Darkness wasn't just outside, it was closing in. The secrets surrounding her began to bleed into her reality. Could she really save her daughter, or had she already lost her to whispers that never should have been heard? The wind howled like a banshee, and rain lashed mercilessly against the windows as Sarah fought to control the rising tide of panic enveloping her. Jacob trembled at her side, eyes wide with fear. "Where did Mia go?" he whispered, his voice cracking. The way he asked was as if he already knew the answer, that something dark had pulled her from their home. "Stay close," she ordered, clutching Jacob's hand tightly. It felt like an iron weight anchoring her to reality, but every second spent away from Mia felt like small death. It was as if the very house conspired against her, forcing its secrets into silence as thick and stifling as the storm. Searching the yard, she felt the oppressive weight of unseen eyes. Each flicker of lightning cast elongated shadows, grotesque shapes twisted against the walls, a reminder that some evils lurked not in darkness but in the unsuspecting daylight. And that Mr. Ortiz stood as a steady reminder of the terror rooted in her home, cloaked in mystery and maybe something worse. "Mia!" She screamed, her voice cracking, swallowed by the raging storm. It was folly, sheer madness, but she had to fight to bring her daughter back. Fear propelled her forward. In the dim light, Sarah glimpsed a figure through the trees, a small silhouette moving in erratic bursts. Her heart sank. Wanting to believe, she shouted one last time, "Mia, come to me." But the girl didn't respond. Instead, she just stood there, still as stone. Not her Mia, but something else, something she couldn't explain. Sarah's every instinct screamed to turn and run, yet she forged on, closer and closer. As she arrived at the edge where trees stretched their bony fingers toward the sky, she felt an icy breath on the back of her neck. It sent jolts of goosebumps racing down her spine. She spun around, only to come face to face with Mr. Ortiz, moisture glistening on his skin like a creeping fog. His lips curled into an unsettling smirk. "Your daughter is safe," he said softly, his breath cold against the night air. "But the truth, well, it comes with a price." The shadows swirled, closing in around them. His words twisted in her mind, muddled by dread. What did he know that she didn't? "What have you done?" she hissed, fists trembling at her sides. "She's with her friend," he replied, his casual tone oddly jarring amidst the storm's racket. The house wanted to give her a warm welcome, as it did with others before. Sarah's heart thudded wildly. Others? Her breath caught in her throat. What do you mean?" But as his eyes gleamed, betraying a sinister delight, a guttural sound came from the depths of the yard. It was Mia's voice, echoing eerily through the night, yet twisted deeper, heavier, laced with something demonic. "Mommy, come play." The ground beneath them trembled. The shadows flickered like candle flames, threatening to consume them. Panic surged back as Sarah realized the terrifying truth: whatever had taken Mia was hungry. Starving even. And it wouldn't stop until it got what it wanted. She had to act. "Get back!" Sarah shouted, forcing her body between Jacob and Ortiz, fueled by desperate love and primal fear. Her voice fought against the tempest, but deep down, a chilling thought slithered in: was she really fighting for her daughter's return, or was she just another player in the very game that had ensnared Mia? In that moment of stark clarity, the wind howled louder, and the trees seemed to lean in closer, as if awaiting the outcome of this dark encounter. They were not just a family anymore, they were undying pawns in a much larger plot. And somewhere in the throes of that darkness, they needed to unravel the truth before it was too late. But could Sarah find a way to save Mia, or was the child she sought already beyond the veil of her world? As the candles of the storm flickered in and out, the shadows began to stir again, gnarled hands reaching for the light that still clung to Sarah and Jacob. What happened next would either redefine their fate or seal it in eternal darkness. As Sarah stood guarding Jacob, the cacophony of the storm melded into the howls of terror emanating from the yard. The shadows writhed, slinking away from the flickering candlelight that barely held its ground against the encroaching darkness. A shiver shot down her spine, cold as the wind that tore at her skin. "Mia!" she yelled again, raw desperation echoing in the air. The figure by the trees became clearer with each flash of lightning, and with every illuminating burst, her heart ached deeper. That was not her daughter standing there. That was an echo of something sinister, something twisted by the house, and it invited her with a breath that clung like fog. Ortiz didn't budge, his smile growing wider, like a predator inviting its prey into a trap. "You must understand, Sarah. She does not belong to you anymore. The house has chosen." His words slithered around her, heavy with foreboding. Panic flickered in her soul. "What do you mean, chosen?" She spat, struggling against the suffocating dread. The shadows danced around her feet, reaching, grasping. "It gives, and it takes," he whispered, leaning closer, eyes glinting with madness. "But you have one chance to save her if you're willing to pay the price." Abruptly, Mia's voice called out again, sweeter this time but laced with malice. "Mommy, come play with us." Jacob squeezed Sarah's hand, eyes wide with terror. "Mom, please. We have to go back. Let us leave right now." The winds howled as if agreeing with Jacob, and Sarah's heart thundered in fear for both her children. The storm matched the turmoil within her. The house, with its crumbling walls and secrets, beckoned no, demanded a choice. But pay what price? What price could be worth losing her soul? "Don't listen to him," Jacob shouted, pulling at her as if they could both escape. Yet a memory struck her, what Mr. Ortiz had implied about the others. Were they like Mia now, lost to the whims of that malevolent house? The cold tentacles of dread tightened around her heart, squeezing out her breath. "Enough!" Sarah shouted, straining against the rising tide of shadows. "I'll fight for my daughter." But Ortiz simply laughed, a deep, rolling sound that blended with the thunder. "Fighting is futile, Sarah. Only surrender will bring you closer to her." Vines of shadow snaked toward her, caressing her ankles like fingers, rotting and cold. She stumbled back, pulling Jacob with her, but the very ground beneath them seemed to shift. Was this the house trying to draw them in? Every instinct bid her to flee, yet something defiance anchored her feet. "Mia!" She screamed again, desperation fueling her strength. "Come back. I'm here." A low rumble erupted from the yard. Something stirred in the shadows, something undeniably powerful. The figure of Mia flickered, shifting in and out of existence, the air around her thick with swirling darkness. "I'm waiting, Mommy." Her voice twisted like the wind, calling and taunting. With a burst of defiance, Sarah sprinted forward, tearing Jacob away from Ortiz's sidelong glance. "We have to get to her." The shadows lunged, claws unsheathing from the darkness. She felt cold hands gripping at her, pulling her away from Jacob, trying to separate them. "Hold on!" she screamed, gripping her son's small hand tighter, and then, the ground shook again. The entire house shuddered. A deep, resonant voice echoed from the depths of its bowels. "Choose now, Sarah. Choose before the night takes you all." Fear clutched her throat. The pressure of the decision was unbearable. But what choice could she possibly make? The flickering rage of the storm clashed with the wrath of the house, and Sarah could feel time slipping away. Moments hung heavy in the air. Which choice could reclaim her daughter and save her family? As shadows fought against the storm's chaos, she felt the chill of inevitability creeping in. The cost of the truth loomed closer, dawning black as the sky. What would she find if she turned back? If she dared to reach into the dark, then, from the swirling shadows, a new face appeared, a figure from the past that twisted with the very fabric of the house. As it locked eyes with Sarah, a chilling sense of recognition flooded through her. Who or what had come to reclaim the darkness once more? The figure stepped into the faint light, the flicker of the candle illuminating a face that sent ice spiraling through Sarah's veins. It was her sister, Laura, who had vanished years ago under similar ominous circumstances. Her once bright, innocent eyes now bore a hollow, tortured gaze, a haunting echo of the girl Sarah once knew. "Help me!" Laura's voice was strained, as if the very air that carried her words was contaminated by despair. "They're coming for me, for all of us." She stumbled closer, her form flickering like an old film, unstable yet desperate. Jacob's grip tightened on his mother's hand. "Mom, it's not her. It can't be," he begged, trembling. "Sarah," Mr. Ortiz's voice cut through the chaos, smooth as silk, wrapping around them like a python. "This is the truth the house has been waiting to reveal. There is no escaping it. Only by embracing it can you save them." What did that even mean? The swirling fog of confusion clouded her thoughts. The shadows whispered, thrumming with dark intentions. They grew restless, angry as if sensing her hesitation. "Mom, please. Don't listen to him." Jacob's cry broke through her reverie. "You know it's not real." But as Sarah looked at Laura, the memories came flooding back, the laughter, the secrets shared, the moment they both realized danger was lurking in their family. From one sister to another, she had always felt Laura's presence, and even now, the raw emotion felt too real to dismiss. "Sarah, I'm trapped. You have to help me." The phantoms of Laura's words clung to the air, wet with desperation. Suddenly, the ground shifted beneath her feet, the house thrumming like an animal disturbed. Voices, murmurs of the lost filled the chaos, competing for attention, calling her, pulling at her heart. They lamented and gasped, shadows wrapping around her legs like the chill of the grave, promising her secrets too dreadful to bring into the light. "No. I want to let you take my family," Sarah shouted, but her defiance felt frail against the weight of the house's malevolence. Laura extended a hand, her fingers trembling. "You have to choose, Sarah. Only the truth can set us free." "Mom, don't." Jacob pulled harder, his fear propelling him closer to her other side. "We're all here. We're your family." The shadows twitched and quivered, their claws sharp and eager, hungry for a decision. In the dim light, Sarah felt every heartbeat pulse with dread. The storm outside howled, pounding, echoing the turmoil inside her mind. "Take my hand." Laura's voice was urgent, then it turned hollow. "Please save me." The intensity of the moment paralyzed her. Time fractured around her, splintering into fragments of memories and unrealized hopes. What would she sacrifice? Mia? Jacob? Perhaps even her own sanity, but the storm roared, drowning out reason. She had one decision to make, as if the very foundation of her existence depended on it. Above all else, what did she truly value? The clawing shadows waited, taunting her, urging her toward the depths of darkness. "Choose, Sarah. You can't delay." Then a spine-chilling laugh erupted from Mr. Ortiz, vibrating through the air, as if he fed off her anguish. "You're running out of time, my dear." As Sarah felt her heart race, the ghostly whispers turned into a deafening roar. A choice loomed before her in the heavy air. Two fates wrestled for existence, the salvation of her daughter or the reclamation of something lost long ago. In the pitch darkness, she prepared to make her choice. The air crackled with urgency, charged with the weight of the unknown. But what price would she pay for salvation? And when the storm broke, sending a wave of wind crashing through the night, what would emerge from the other side? The wind howled ferociously, an otherworldly sound that echoed through the darkened hallways, making the walls tremble. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest, drowning out the whispers swirling around them. The shadows danced and flickered, twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to mock her torment. She could feel their icy breath against her skin, their whispering slithering through her mind like serpents. "Choose." The voice of Laura was both a plea and a command. It held an urgency that felt electric and alive. How could she choose? What even was the right choice now that everything she once knew twisted into something sinister? "Mom, please. Let us go." Jacob pulled at her arm, desperation tinging his voice. But Sarah felt drawn to Laura, the sister who had once been her anchor. Would she really be able to save her? Or would this be a morning of a different kind, a surrender to the darkness? "Sarah. Remember all those nights we shared secrets? I'm still here, I can't be lost." Laura pleaded, her figure flickering as if battling against a storm of its own. The shadows shifted ominously, gathering around their feet like quicksand, threatening to pull them down. The storm outside raged louder, the wind shrieking, drowning out her thoughts. The air thickened with a palpable dread. "Help me." Laura's voice became a whisper again, but it dripped with sorrow, echoing in Sarah's soul. "Don't let them take me. We can fight it together." The flickering candlelight illuminated Jacob's terrified face, his eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. Mom! You can't trust her. We can't play their game. His voice cracked like thunder in the darkness, the urgency pulling at Sarah's heart. Suddenly, a vision struck her, a flash of the past. Summer days spent laughing and sharing secrets in a sunlit garden, the way Laura would twirl in her sundress, her laughter ringing like chimes in the wind. Sarah shook her head violently, trying to push the memories away. They were dulling her resolve. Jacob. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of choices shift like the tempest outside. I need to know. Don't. Jacob shouted, his voice breaking the gathering gloom once more. The shadows writhed and hissed, their hunger palpable as they heard the conflict in her voice. But Laura's agonized face only deepened the wound in Sarah's heart. I'm not gone, Sarah. I'm trapped. Only you can break this curse. The air around them thickened, constricting like a vice. Everything within her was on fire as the stakes climbed higher. She understood now that the stakes were personal. Would she be willing to confront the monster lurking not only in the shadows but in her own heart? A sudden clamoring, like 1,000 whispers clashing together, filled the air. Time is running out. Panic exploded in her chest. What do I do? She screamed, her voice fighting against the chaos. Choose. Mr. Ortiz's voice rang louder now, sinister and resonant. Do you want to believe in the lies or embrace the truth? Sarah faltered, the words striking her like lethal blades. Everything around her felt like a fragile illusion, built on fear and regret. But Laura's eyes, haunted and desperate, pulled her close to the edge. Would she risk it all to save her sister? Or turn her back to keep Jacob safe? The storm outside reached its climax, thunder crashing, lightning illuminating the room in a violent flash. And in that instant of blinding light, everything changed. As the shadows screamed with fury, a voice boomed from the depths of the house, the true choice awaits, but can you handle what you'll uncover? The floor trembled beneath Sarah's feet as she stood poised between two destinies, both horrifying, both riveting. Would she step forward into her sister's darkness? Or pull away into the uncertain light? In that raging storm, the final echo of desperation was heard as the shadows lunged. As the shadows lunged, Sarah felt the ground collapse beneath her. It wasn't a physical fall, it was mental and emotional, a plunge into darkness deeper than any physical chasm. The air turned thick, an icy grip wrapping around her throat, squeezing tight. Laura's form twisted, caught between light and shade, her features a mix of hope and despair. Sarah! Laura cried out, voice cracking, straining against the void. You have to make a choice. Don't let them. Before she could grasp the enormity of it, the shadows surged, swallowing Laura's cry. The wind shrieked through the house, a banshee lamentation that echoed in Sarah's bones. Jacob, still tugging on her arm, felt so distant, his panic clawing at her heart like a desperate child lost in the dark. Mom! He screamed, eyes wide, filled with unshed tears and terror. We can't go down this road. We'll lose everything. But everything was already slipping away. Sarah looked into the abyss where her sister once stood, a sense of dread creeping through her. Would she exist if she rescued Laura? Would she still be Jacob's mother? Questions twisted in a chaotic storm in her mind, the shadows tightened their grip, and Sarah felt icy fingers dance across her skin. With every pulse of fear, memories surged, bitter moments of arguments, laughter during a serene afternoon, shared secrets over midnight snacks. How could she weigh all those moments against Jacob's desperate pleas? In a shuddering breath, she turned toward Jacob. We can't leave her. I feel her here. I know. You can't trust her. Jacob's voice cut deeper than the cold wind. She's not the sister you knew, Mom. Please, listen to me. The wind screamed again, and the cacophony grew unbearable. Shadows crawled closer, hungry for her hesitations, ready to snatch away her resolve. Time is running out. They hissed in unison, a chorus that gripped her with cold dread. Sarah, choose. Laura's voice echoed through the maelstrom, an alluring song now tainted with the rot of despair. Only you can break the curse, only you can save us. Sarah's heart sank. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet she could feel Laura's presence reaching, pulling her in. Images flickered in her mind like old film, her sister helping her through heartbreaks, then suddenly disappearing, leaving her alone with guilt. What if I could save you? The words escaped her lips, fragile as glass, but the shadows roared, shaking the foundation of their reality. It's a trap. Jacob shouted, panic lacing his voice. Mom, she's not your sister anymore, can't you see? If you go to her, you might never come back. A flash of lightning illuminated the hallway, revealing the grotesque forms of the shadows, eyes swirling with hunger. They lunged at her, an avalanche of darkness, and Sarah felt the wild rush of terror surge through her. The shadows dripped with malice, soaking up the warmth of her hopes, the light of her love. Mom! Jacob's voice broke through the chaos, desperate and pleading. She closed her eyes, letting the memories flood in her sister's laughter, her warmth, their bond. But then came the echoing whispers, twisting memories with dread, planting doubt like weeds in her soul. Was this truly Laura waiting for her to save her? Or a trap designed to swallow her whole? In that precarious moment, thunder rattled the windows, and she realized that she stood, teetering on the edge of a chasm, facing a truth so profound it threatened to crush her spirit. Was she truly ready to confront what lay on the other side? With renewed urgency, she made her choice, but not before the shadows whispered one final taunt, shivering through her mind like ice shattering. Are you ready to see what you must sacrifice? And just as she steeled herself for the plunge, a new voice emerged, low and sinister, echoing through the storm. This is only the beginning. Follow the darkness, and the truth will reveal itself. The ground beneath her quaked, and Sarah felt the fabric of reality rippling from the force of the shadows. She felt the pull of the abyss, too strong to resist, but at what cost? What truth awaited her in this tempest of horror? As the darkness enveloped her, it whispered secrets she wasn't prepared to face. The darkness coiled around Sarah like a snake, tightening until she could hardly breathe. Whispers emerged from the shadows, chilling her to the bone. They wrapped around her limbs, dragging her deeper, away from Jacob's terrified gaze. Panic surged in her chest as she fought against the invisible weight pulling her apart, tearing at her memories like ravenous crows. Mom! Jacob's voice pierced through the murky fog, but then it faded into a hollow echo. Sarah felt the warmth of his presence dissolve into the void. Uncertainty clawed at her mind. Was she losing him too? The shadows whispered again, seductive, hypnotic. Join us, join her, break the chains. Images flashed before her, Laura's smile, sweet and innocent, brightening a sun-drenched day. Then suddenly, the smile twisted into a grimace, the laughter turning into tortured screams. It felt like a trap, yet a part of her yearned for the connection, for something familiar amidst the suffocating dread. What if she could still save her sister? Through the chaos, she spotted a flicker of light, a spark trying to break through the darkness. Laura! She shouted, desperation fueling her voice. I'm coming. Just hold on. But the shadows sneered, growing thicker, feeding on her desperation. You think you can save her? You don't even know what she's become. The ground trembled again, sending ripples of fear through her. Fractured glimpses of others lost to the darkness surfaced in her mind, friends from childhood, faces she hadn't thought of in years. They all succumbed. Paying the price to keep their secrets buried. Would she be another? A wail cut through the darkness, twisting her heart. Mom! They're lying. Jacob's voice, now muffled but still desperate, clawed at her resolve. Please. Don't listen to them. And then came the image, the raw truth of what lay ahead, monstrous and unrelenting. She could feel each pulse of the darkness merging into a vision of herself, twisted and tormented. If she let go of her sister, would it spare Jacob? Would he still have a mother to come home to? As the shadows howled, a blinding light flared, threatening to break the spell. Sarah closed her eyes tightly, shaking her head as though that would free her from the weight of choice. She could choose to turn her back, to step into the light, leaving Laura to the abyss, or plunge into the darkness to confront whatever terrible transformation had taken hold of her sister. Each heartbeat echoed louder, urging her towards one decision or the other, but the terror of imagining a life without Jacob pushed back harder. He was everything. "I hear you," Sarah finally screamed, her throat raw as she stood on the precipice, torn between love and fear. "I will save us both. I want to let you go, Laura." But, as she declared her intent, the shadows erupted, a cacophony of sinister laughter enveloping her. The glow of the light dimmed, and cruel fingers of darkness stroked her cheek, promising power, freedom, a world beyond her understanding if only she surrendered. "Choose, Sarah, but remember, every choice has a cost." She hesitated only a moment longer before gathering herself for the plunge. The abyss whispered her name, and the moment she let go, a flash of dread surged through her. A new reality pressed in, sharp and jagged, pulling her senses apart. What horror waited in this unclaimed space of shadow? As she descended, the conversation began anew, and this time the voices shifted, entwining with her pulse. "You've made your choice. Let us reveal what must be sacrificed." The ground disintegrated beneath her, revealing a chasm of reflected nightmares, and she wondered if she was ready to witness the truth that lurked within. The shadows swallowed Sarah whole, her surroundings dissolving into a swirling vortex of dread. Each fragment of darkness was alive, shifting and writhing, each a memory begging for recognition. She felt them crawl under her skin, whispering sweet promises laced with poison. "Welcome, Sarah. You've joined us, just as we hoped." The voices harmonized, a chorus of familiar yet twisted tones that tugged at her mind. They remained just beyond her grasp, taunting her with half-formed faces that morphed between loved ones and grotesque silhouettes. "Laura! I'm here!" she shouted, her own voice sounding weak even to her. Desperation coursed through her veins like a raging river. There had to be a way to reach her sister. Suddenly, fear resonated within her, a visceral sensation that made the hairs on her neck stand tall. The darkness rippled, feeding on her terror, distorting memories of a summer day long past where laughter echoed across sun-drenched fields. It was shattered now, replaced with the echoes of cries that seemed to echo both from within and outside the void. The shadows stacked upon one another, contorting into grim shapes that broke and contorted as if they had a life of their own. "What price will you pay to find her?" they hissed, twisting her thoughts. Sarah stumbled as fractured images of her sister tore through the air. Laura, spirited and bright, smiling among friends. Then the scene warped, blood seeping from her sister's eyes, a mouth that stretched into a wicked grin. The girl she knew was twisted into something unrecognizable. "Help me, Sarah," the creature said, its voice masking Laura's, a wretched mimicry that sliced through her heart. "No!" Sarah cried out, struggling against the pull of the darkness. "I will find you. I know you're still in there." The laughter that followed was rich and cruel. It echoed in rippling waves, bouncing off the walls of her mind. "You think you can save her? Sacrifice your love, and perhaps she'll be free. But if you catch her in your web, what will you become?" An electric pulse coursed through Sarah, horror knitting tightly in her gut. Would she indeed become the very thing she feared just to save Laura? A sudden surge of rage broke through her fear. "I want to let go. I would give my life to keep her from suffering." But then came the silence, thick and choking, wrapping around her like a damp fog. Such determination, so tragic. A sudden violence jolted the shadows, and they surged forward, enveloping her in a chaotic embrace. Dark tendrils wrapped around her wrists, pulling her towards unseen depths where truth and horror mingled. As she was dragged deeper, glimpses of her past swirled around her like autumn leaves caught in a tempest. Friends forgotten, lives barely lived, all swallowed by the abyss. Faces contorted in agony flashed like lightning before her eyes, each tugging on the very fabric of her existence, yet demanding her compliance. "Look closely, Sarah. What will you trade for your sister?" The abyss beckoned, and she gasped. Nothing. She shot back, heart pounding furiously. I will not be another lost voice here. But the shadows were relentless, pressing upon her as memories morphed into nightmares. We can show you her suffering. Wouldn't you rather have her freedom than her pain? Did she even know what freedom meant in this swirling chaos? She saw visions of her own visage, twisted and despairing, reflected back at her from the void, a warning and a temptation. Sarah! Save me! A voice cried, yet it wasn't Laura's. It was Jacob, panic rippling through the air. His frantic plea pierced through the consuming fear that surrounded her. With renewed resolve, she fought against the grip of the shadows, pulling herself closer to the flicker of light in the distance. A place where she could embrace not just Laura, but save Jacob too. But as she drew nearer, the laughter grew louder and closer, surrounding her in a sickening embrace. You think you can escape our grip? Every light has its shadow, and the cost is far more than you've imagined. What waited for her at the light's edge? Would she grasp at hope only to fall further? With every ounce of strength, she leapt towards the radiant glow, hoping against hope it led to salvation, and not to her total doom. What awaited her on the other side of darkness was a question drifting like smoke, agonizing and poised to be revealed. Light engulfed her, blinding and warm. But it was deceptive, a trick of the void. The brightness twisted, revealing jagged edges, then dissolving into a cold, harsh glow. Sarah gasped, finding herself sprawled on an asphalt road, the same road she knew from her childhood. But now it was stained with shadows, each ripple a memory twisted into grotesque shapes, taunting her from the darkness of the trees lining the street. Jacob! She yelled. The name echoed, swallowed by the eerie silence that hung in the air, thick enough to choke her. No response. Only the rustling of leaves, no, whispers echoing in the distance, a terrifying chorus of despair and longing. She leapt to her feet, adrenaline spiking. The familiar sights of home felt alien now. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, slipping away whenever she turned to see them fully. What the hell is happening? She muttered, her voice cracking. Panic bubbled in her stomach, incessantly urging her to run. But from behind her, a sound Jacob's name whispered in despair. She whirled around, staring into the darkness that draped itself across the road like a heavy shroud. Jacob! Where are you? Hope surged, brightening the fear. She moved cautiously, stepping onto the shadows inching across her path, the chill danced along her spine. She could sense them, the entities that lingered just beyond her line of sight, watching. They were inviting, their dark whispers curling around her, coaxing her to join them. You know where he is, Sarah, they cooed, mocking her. Shut up! She yelled back, clenching her fists. Don't despair, the truth lies ahead. The path twisted and turned, leading her deeper into the suffocating darkness. But there was a shimmer, a flicker of hope. She sprinted toward it, her breath hitching in her throat as she recognized the outline of someone standing at the end of the road. Tall, protectively shadowed. Jacob! She screamed again, voice dry and hoarse. Her heart raced. Every fiber of her being yearned to reach him. But the figure morphed, fading and reshaping with cruel laughter. She came to a halt, dread swirling in her gut like a violent storm. The figure twisted into a horrific semblance of Jacob, his features warped, eyes black as pitch. Help me, save me, his voice echoed, mixing with her own cries and the shadows that tormented her. Stay back. She stumbled back, colliding with the cold touch of a tree, its bark rough against her back. The laughter swelled, mocking her anguish. The shadows tightened their grip, and she felt a cold breath sweep across her neck, sending shivers straight to her bones. Nothing is as it seems, Sarah. Can you bear the weight of the truth? Get out of my head. She shouted, pulling away from the tree, the darkness pressing in all around. With resolve blending into desperation, she charged straight through the menacing curtain of shadows. I can save you. I will save you. She shouted, uncertainty gripping her heart like an iron vice. The laughter transformed into shrieks, and for a moment, the air was still, vibrating with the tension of moments that could fracture her very sanity. Then, the light shifted again, blinding her temporarily. She shielded her eyes and pushed forward, determined to break through the suffocating darkness. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. The silence erupted with a new sound, guttural, primal. Sarah froze. Something was shifting within the shadows, growing larger, more threatening. "Do you wish to see what you have unleashed?" A voice rumbled from the darkness, thick with menace. What did it mean? The very air felt heavy with dread. As her heart raced, and fear clawed at her insides, the shadows pulsed, revealing glimpses of truth she had long buried. And beneath those whispering layers, the haunting cry of her sister resonated, weaving together with Jacob's desperate pleas. What would she discover if she dared to look deeper? Was she truly ready for the depths of horror that lay ahead? Without answering her own questions, Sarah felt a tug on her soul, leading her to the unknown. The shadows swirled, closing in like a living entity, and with one last desperate breath, Sarah leaned into the dark, ready or not. Would she awaken the horrors that slept within? Or was she destined to become one with them? The darkness enveloped Sarah, wrapping her in its cold embrace. Each heartbeat resonated with dread as she fought to stay afloat in a sea of shadows. With every inch she moved forward, she could feel their hunger, the way they pulsed with a life of their own, welcoming her like a long-lost friend. The air was thick with whispers, promises, and lies that slithered around her ears, pleading with her to listen. "Join us, forsake the light, no." The words clawed at her insides. Sarah knew this was a nightmare, yet her resolve was faltering. "Get away from me!" she screamed, her voice hoarse as she willed herself to remember what she was fighting for. Jacob. Mia. Laura. She had to find them. Suddenly, the darkness parted, revealing flashes of memories she desperately wanted to forget. Laughter echoing in sunlit gardens, moments of joy now grotesquely twisted. Laura, bright and full of life, morphed into a specter, fading into a silhouette soaked in shadows. "Help me!" Laura cried, her voice a tainted scream that echoed through the depths of despair. Sarah's heart shattered at the sound. "I'm right here, Laura. I'll save you." But it was too late. Her sister's form twisted away into the void, only to be replaced by Jacob's anguished face, begging not to be taken. The shadows writhed and twisted, morphing into fearful shapes that loomed near, teasing her with anguish silenced in the dark. "Sarah!" Jacob's voice rose above the cacophony, breaking through the chaos weighing heavy in her heart. "Don't let them take you, please." She charged toward the sound, fueled by his plea, breaking through the suffocating grip of darkness. Every step was a battle, every inch she covered felt like wading through quicksand. But she pushed on, fueled by love and the desire to protect her son. "Hold on, Jacob. I'm coming." The shadows screamed in frustration as she forged on, their whispers becoming a tumultuous roar. "You cannot escape. You are one of us." But Sarah refused to listen. Her heart pounded fiercely, echoing the strength of her determination. Then, in a pulse of light erupting from the shadows, she saw him, a flicker of hope shining brighter than the darkest night. "Mom!" Jacob cried, reaching out for her, his silhouette all the warmth she needed to fight back. With every ounce of strength left, she lunged toward him, smashed through the darkness, and felt the light wrap around her like a warm embrace. "I'm here, baby. I won't leave you." In that moment, the shadows shrieked, their voices high-pitched and manic, a cacophony of rage and despair. But Sarah held on tight to Jacob, blending their souls in a bond that couldn't be broken. "I will not let you take my family," she declared, her voice towering over the chaos. "I choose love over fear." The darkness seethed, shrinking back, as if struck by her words. The shadows twisted into angrier forms, retreating at the strength of her defiance. But they were not finished yet. In a final act of vengeance, they lashed out, launching themselves like a wild storm, ready to consume her once more. Time slowed as Sarah's breath hitched. She felt the weight of every decision, every tear shed, and every sacrifice made surge in her chest. I won't let fear define me. I choose to believe. I choose you both. With that declaration, light burst through the shadows. The angry mass of darkness cracked like glass, splintering into shards that scattered into the wind. The house trembled and screamed, echoing with the sound of thousands of lost souls released from their torment. Shadows recoiled, trapped in their own web of destruction, as Sarah's conviction pressed forth a force of nature stronger than the darkest fears. And then, like tendrils of mist, Jacob clutched her tighter, pulling her back into an embrace. They were together, alive, uninterrupted by fear, surrounded by warmth. "Mom," Jacob whispered, looking up through tears of relief as light flooded the space around them. "Are we safe now?" Sarah knelt down, capturing his face in her hands. "We're safe, honey. We're free." But there was still a hollow ache in her heart. Her sister's disappearance left an echo behind. The fight against darkness had illuminated what she had lost, but it also revealed a path forward. "We will find Laura, Jacob. I promise." With firm determination, she stood tall as a newfound resolve thrummed through her. The house no longer felt alive with sinister whispers. Now, it was a blank canvas, waiting to be filled with memories untainted by fear's grasp. As the rain subsided outside, the first light of dawn spilled into the old home, sweeping away the last remnants of night. They emerged into a new day, the horizon stretching vibrant and filled with potential. It would be a journey toward healing, toward adventure, and Sarah, flanked by Jacob and the hope of finding Laura, felt a surge of strength swell in her chest. This was just the beginning, a new chapter in a story that would shine brightly beyond the shadows that had almost consumed them. So as they stood together, ready to face whatever lay ahead, Sarah took a deep breath, smiling at the promise of an untold future. Now that you've witnessed this heart-pounding conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss our next exclusive stories packed with chills and thrills. Smash that like button now. Go on, it feeds the algorithm and helps us keep creating amazing content. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about today's twist. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this conclusion in their lives. True fans understand the importance of supporting us through these actions. Join us, and let us chase more thrilling tales together.